Hey, Vijay.
Hello.
Hey, Vijay.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good. So now it works. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now
There's
I've
some
got.
some difference between just like invitation to view and invitation to join.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, let me mute this. We can see the comments. Okay.
Yeah, let's just give 1 or 2 minutes and then we'll start. We should be able to
Okay.
see. Yeah, there's about 29 people now. Let's just give a minute and then we'll.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. Of course. Okay. All right. Okay.
Vijay, you can also see the comments, right? So you should be able to.
Yeah, I
pick the
see.
question. Yes, and Akash Shukla.
I see like one comment, I think.
Yeah. So
Or
see
two.
when questions show up, I'll also see it. We can read it.
Okay.
We can try and answer that. Okay, let's get started. I think 35 or
Sure.
34 people are here.
Okay.
So welcome all. I think this is to all the student body who's joining. I think it's always exciting to do things, different things for students in India. I guess these new platforms make or create opportunities to try these new kind of things. So that's my primary interest, I guess, to get some opportunities to be flowing into Indian students in India, so to say. Right, in that context, welcome all. Let's see how this one goes. And this is an interesting opportunity, actually. The background for this is, I think Vijay posted it on Twitter or somehow. Ashwin, who is actually who used to be working with me before, I think, tagged me and then said this is an interesting opportunity. And then I pinged Vijay saying, Vijay, let's try to do this Facebook live session. Would it be okay? He also agreed, so we're here, right? So I think it's always nice to see how the well-wishers' strengths work. People somewhere are connecting some people and then things just work out, right? So that's always a nice background for this. So thanks Vijay for joining. So tell us about, first few minutes, tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you have in mind for, how did this internship come up? Let's start with that.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, PK. I mean, this is a great opportunity to talk to students directly. I have never done a Facebook Live before, so this is my very first time doing this. Thank you for this opportunity. So to say a little bit about myself, like I grew up in Chennai. I did my undergrad in College of Engineering, Guindy, and then I went to Wisconsin-Madison for my master's. And when I went there, I originally just wanted to do a master's, but my professor convinced me to stay and do a PhD. So I did that, and then after I did my PhD, I saw that my professor was having a lot of fun. Being a professor, it seemed very interesting. So I thought, okay, like let me do this, and that's how I ended up as a professor at University of Texas at Austin. Now I've been on the admissions committee like a few years now at UT Austin, and one thing I see is that a lot of like Indian students, they're very talented, but they don't have the necessary background or experience when they apply for a PhD. So this is very striking to me. Like if you look at like other countries, like China, for example, right? They are very aggressively pushing the students to do research before they even apply for a PhD. So they have like a huge advantage over Indian students. And it's not like we have tapped all the good Indian students there. Like we get some subset of Indian students applying, but I think there's a vast amount of Indian students who are really, really good, but just haven't had the right opportunities. So I have done remote internships with a number of students before. So some of the students who are currently working with me at UT, that's how I found them. So one of the students is Rohan Kadakori. He started doing a remote sort of like internship with me, and it turned out great. I was like, this guy is amazing. There is Saujanya Panapalli from IIIT Hyderabad actually. So she reached out to me and we started working before she formally applied, and I saw that she was really good. So these remote internships are a great win-win for both parties. Like I get to know the students, so I know like beyond what they look like on paper, what are their actual skills, right? So someone may look extremely awesome on paper, but then like it may not work out between us. But then like somebody could be like their on paper profile is not great, but then they're amazing at system building. So it works both ways. So that's how I sort of like started doing this, and so I was posting on Twitter, like to my other professor friends, like if you want like great Indian students, this is a way to do this. And they were like, oh, how did you do this? Did it work out? And to be fair, like those were the two success stories that I mentioned. There were a lot of like, failure stories. Because like undergrads especially have like a lot of stuff going on, right? So allocating time for research when it's not even official is takes a lot of like discipline and commitment. So a lot of my remote internships would just like fizz out because they would start and then they would get distracted by other school stuff, and then so I was talking about this on Twitter, and then so Anant Mani, who heads Report B, an educational startup. I did my very first internship with Anant back in 2007. So Anant and I go way back, and so I was saying that like if there was this opportunity for Indian undergrads, it would help them be more competitive when they're applying for PhDs and research opportunities. So Anant is like amazing. He was like, this is great, you should do this, I will fund you. Like, wow, this is I did not expect this to come out of this Twitter conversation. But he's very invested in the idea of like helping Indian students. So he was like, he talked to Report B, and then that's how this fellowship came about. So they are offering a stipend of 10,000 rupees per month to students who are selected for this fellowship, so that like it's no longer just an unofficial commitment. You are actually getting paid for this, and hopefully that allows the students to set apart from some time for research. And so this is a 1-year internship, and the idea is that the students work on research with me remotely for a year, at the end of this year, based on the work that I've done, I'm able to write them a strong recommendation letter. And this can actually be this can be very significant for their application, right? So if I'm saying like they worked on this project, they helped me publish this paper, these are the specific skills, that actually helps boost their case a lot. So that's how this came about, basically.
Good. So tell us about your areas of work, technical. What are your, so to say, topics? What topics are you?
Sure. So in general, I'm a systems guy. So I like building sort of like complex systems which solve an important problem. And in that specifically, I'm interested in storage. So how does storage affect the other systems that we have? So, and there are multiple lines of research that I have ongoing. So one line of research is how do we reduce bugs in storage systems? So especially what we call crash consistency bugs. So your computer is running along, then you lose power, and when you come back up, has it recovered to a consistent state or not? So that's a challenge. And it turns out that testing for these kinds of bugs is very tricky. And because of that, it's not really done very well in industry right now. So some of the work we have done is like we have come up with an infrastructure to test these bugs at scale across different file systems. And my students have done like phenomenal work, and they have found bugs that have been lying dormant for like 4 years. So that's one line of research. I really want to make file systems more reliable and bug-free. So that's one line of work. Another line of work is what we call write optimized storage. So the background is that we are we are in the era of big data. So the amount of data that we produce is becoming bigger and bigger. Like Pinterest, for example, processes like thousands of like terabytes a day, right? So all this data is being stored and then being processed. Unfortunately, the medium on which they are stored is SSDs, solid state drive, flash, basically, which has limited lifetime. So if you write to an Intel SSD, let's say like 5 terabytes every day, it will last, let's say, 5 years. If you write 10 terabytes, it will last half the time. So, so now the question is, we have this processing requirement, and currently systems are really writing as much data as they can to all these SSDs. How do we get the same performance and results while reducing less, while writing less data? So that's what we call write optimized storage, and that's another line of research that I'm holding. Because if we can prolong the lifetime of these SSDs, this will result in like millions of dollars of savings for like large companies like Facebook and Google and so on. So that's another line of research. Another one which we haven't begun yet, but we'll do so in fall, is about cloud computing and storage. So the idea is that in data centers, there's all this storage that's underutilized. So you have, let's say, an Amazon EC2 instance which was spun up, which has like, let's say, 100 gigabytes, and the user is only using 54 gigabytes. So there's like a lot of storage that's wasted on that particular node. It would be used. It would be nice if somebody could use that storage effectively, right? So an idea for this comes from like what are called spot instances on Amazon. So the idea is that you are given a virtual machine and it can be taken away at any point of time, but it's very cheap because you're just like utilizing some machine that's like lying there somewhere. If the actual user comes back, it's fine, right? So can we do the same thing for storage? That's the idea. So if your storage is underutilized, can you make use of that and build a platform on top of it? Is what we're looking at. So so roughly those are the broad things we're looking at.
Oh, brilliant. So let's get into now details of so because I think as a faculty from India also, right? See, the whole purpose of me doing all these things, helping students with the network that one has built, is also to see from a faculty who's sitting in India also, right? My perspective to students, because I think system building is not something that students get exposed so much in the undergraduate program here. I think many of our undergraduate program does not focus so much on, so to say, these kind of problems that you're talking about. So it's going to be interesting to see how, what methods you have in terms of filtering students. So let's get into internship itself, right? Do you want to throw some details, or I have some questions, or as you were speaking, I was just writing down a few things that I wanted to check. But let's just stop for a second and let the people also who are watching. It looks like about 50 people are watching the video. So for people who are watching, and if you're interested in this internship, I think this is the best opportunity to ask a question to himself, the faculty whom you're going to be working with. So I think post the questions as comments in the video, and then we'll take it up as we go. But Vijay, why don't you share about details about the internship itself? When does it start? When does it finish? So for example, go ahead.
Yeah, so it'll start in August this year. So one detail I wanted to throw out was that like originally we had the deadline for applying as May 31st. We have just extended that a little bit. So now you can apply until June 15th. What do you need for applying? You basically need your transcripts, like how you have done an undergrad, stuff like that. And you basically need 3 letters of recommendation from professors, managers, someone who can attest to like sort of like how good you are. So that's sort of like what we're requiring. Once the applications have come in, we'll look through the applications and we'll actually do Skype interviews with selected students to figure out like who's sort of the right fit for this fellowship. And then in August we'll announce like who got the fellowship, and then this will run for 12 months from August to August. And the idea is that at the end of next August, they have done enough research to get a strong letter from me and to write like a strong research statement. And then after next year, they will apply for grad school. So that's the idea. So this is also loosely, this is also loosely based on the Microsoft Research Fellow program. So Microsoft Research has this program where you start as a research fellow for 2 years. At the end of the 2 years, you are supposed to apply for grad school. And during those 2 years, you work with sort of like, researchers at Microsoft Research. And this allows you to build up a good research profile, get good letters, and then apply. So this is a trial 1-year version of the same thing, done remotely. So we'll see how effective it is.
But Vijay, quick question. So because the way you were explaining, I was thinking that what level of student are you looking at? post second year, post third year, finished undergrad? What level of students are you?
We are very flexible on that. So originally when we were first thinking about this, we were thinking like second or third year students. But it's been pointed out that like if they're third year, it's already too late for them to do this and then apply. So we are happy with anywhere between second year student, and if you've recently graduated and you're working in a company somewhere but you want to get into research, you are also eligible.
Yeah, but what's the upper limit? When is the last class of what? 2017 is the last of 2016, 15. Is it good enough?
Yeah, I would say 2017. Sorry.
Okay.
This is the class of 2017. 2015, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, but 15 would be like 3 years before, right? They would have 15 graduated 16, 17, and now it's 18. So they would have 3 years of experience.
So 2 years since graduation. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Okay, so the class of 2016, basically.
Yeah, and there's no application fee. So for students who are in doubt whether they are qualified or whether they should apply, you should definitely go ahead and apply. The worst that can happen is that you spend your time applying, but there's no application fee. So please, if you think you are interested and you have a good case, do apply.
For the students, Vijay is just trying to make sure that his acceptance rate looks pretty attractive. More you apply, less he takes. He will say that, look at this, my internship is super cool because my acceptance rate is so low. Right? That's the idea, I guess. But there are some questions, Vijay. Before we get to the questions of the people, let's just ask one or two more questions. Here's another question that I think may come up. What's the number of internship available? Meaning, how many positions?
Just one this year.
Just one this year. Okay.
Just one this year. This is the first year we're doing this. Yeah, so we don't know exactly how it will go. So we are just doing one student this year, and if it works well, we might increase it next year. And this is all dependent upon like report B also, right? Like I'm only doing the easy research mentoring part. They are the one who's actually funding. So it also depends upon report B.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we have answered already questions. So Anirudh Murli asked the question about approximate intake count, which probably we have answered. Akshay Sharma is asking, hello sir, is it possible for working professionals to apply for this? Akshay, I think the answer is yes. If you're anybody who's graduated 2016 or after, I think you are eligible. Right, Vijay?
Yes. Yes. Sorry, I was reading the next question. Yes, that's right.
Sure. So next question is pretty long. I think the person knows probably you, I guess. Krishna Kashyap, Vijay sir, I'm interested in the fields which you are talking right now, but I don't have exposure, but I'm interested. So I want to know if, you can take that. Yeah, you should answer that.
Yeah. So this is kind of a tricky question, right? So we do want like some exposure. So let me talk about like who would be a good fit for this fellowship, right? Yeah. So these are students who have some experience with systems building already. So they don't need to have built like giant systems, but they should be comfortable coding. They should build some sort of like side projects on their own. Yeah. The thing with the remote internship is that it's really the student is in the driver's seat. Right, so I'm not there physically to remind student, hey, you have to work on this. Like what's the status update? I can't ask every day. So the internship or the fellowship is like structured as like we meet on Skype every week, and so this really requires sort of like a self-driven, motivated student, where like the amount of like low-level handholding required is kind of low. So if the student has been working entirely on like sort of like AI and then suddenly wants to do systems, the probability that it will be successful is pretty low. So we do want someone who has had some exposure at least to sort of like like they have built like they have played around with like some systems, they have built something at least small. So that's something we are looking for.
Sure. I think it's fair, right? Meaning having a little bit experience, because I think remotely it's going to be very hard for somebody to actually give you all the kind of details and things like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Let's take the question from. Actually, this is a very administrative question, right? Adrush Ghosh. Holidays are going on right now. It will be a problem to collect transcripts. Is there a way around?
It's a good question.
But let's ask Adrish, meaning if it's a problem of actually getting the physical transcripts, right? And I don't know whether you were there. Vijay just now said that the deadline is also extended to June 15th. I don't know if it's still a problem, but I'll let Vijay answer it, how to work it around.
Yeah, so the deadline is June 15th, so there's a little bit of time. And for the transcripts, it's fine if you have unofficial transcripts for now. So from last semester, let's say, right? Like it doesn't reflect everything up to the current semester, perhaps something up to the last semester. You know, like so I would encourage you to apply, and if you go on to the next level, right, where we are calling you and doing Skype interviews, we will request more information. So at that point of time, you can supply the full transcript. But you have to give us something to go on. Like if you, there has to be something in your application.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I think others, I hope that helps, right? So essentially apply with whatever you have. If you get selected for the second round, they will probably want you to give the official transcript. Okay, let's do the next question, Vijay. Shubham Jain, much thank you. I'm highly interested. It mentions CS undergraduate student. I'm recently graduated the batch of 2018 from electrical engineering. I'm available for full time. I'm highly interested in CS and also did my previous internships in CS in IIT Bombay. What do you say?
Yeah, so I mean, you know, like I'm not too picky about the background that they have, like ECE, EE, CS, it's all fine. But you should have demonstrated that you have the fundamentals. You should have built something. If you've done an internship, what happened in that internship? What do your internship mentors say about the internship? So that's kind of like what I'm looking for. I have lots of friends who started in ECE, but then like they did amazingly well in CS. So I'm okay with that. The root of it is, do you have the fundamentals or not?
Okay, cool. So let's go to the recommendation itself point, Vijay. So you said you need LORs. Just elaborate on what kind of things are you looking for in the LOR. So that students would know what you're looking for and probably accordingly think about getting an LOR.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm glad you asked that. So I have looked at lots of like letters from Indian professors, and there is this letter which basically says the student took my class and then they got this grade, and I think they're a great student. So this letter does not really tell me much. What I would like is that like whichever professor you have actually interacted with, right? So who knows you, to actually write a letter for you. So you can have a professor saying, this student has a low grade in my class, but he was very inquisitive. He did a great project. He somehow does not like to study for exams, but for systems building skills, he's amazing. So letters like that are what I'm looking for. So if it only says the same thing that's in your transcript, that's not very useful. So I'm looking for professors who have really know you, right? Like who were impressed with your projects, or like how you ask questions in class or something like that. So don't get these generic letters. And I know this is widespread practice in India. Don't write the letters yourself. I have been on the admissions committee. I know how to read those letters. So that will not help you. So and you know, if you have 3 letters, like I want at least like 1 letter which is strong, which is like personal. Like so, I mean, you know, like in undergrad in India, you may not know 3 professors who sort of like know you personally. That's fine. At least get like 1 letter from someone who's interacted with you. And you know, if you're doing research, my guess is that there's at least 1 professor who you connected with, whose class you really liked, and that's how you got interested in research. It's pretty rare for people to get interested in research without sort of like a professor inspiring them. So find that professor, right? Like and then get a letter from them. That's what I would recommend.
Interesting. So I think in the process of saying this, you basically gave another, so to say, idea to pick on, I guess, to do sessions to professors in India how to write LORs.
Yeah. I mean, PK, by the way, your video is frozen.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is it still like that?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, so for me, both looks, try refreshing it and see, I don't know, because can we get somebody in the, who's watching, tell me what the status of the video is?
So for the Facebook Live, I'm still seeing an image with an audio icon on top of it. That's what I'm seeing.
Ah, okay. So I don't know why that's happening.
Yeah, so somebody else has said it's frozen.
Okay. Okay. So why didn't I just disconnect and then connect again?
Okay, sounds good.
I don't know what.